In this video, you will see what is the top 10 must-have units in Update 15. Every units in this video are all obtainable and not from trading. I do want to know what is your top 10 must-have units in Update 15. Remember to subscribe and like. And with that being said, in no particular order, the first must-have unit is Stain Heroeslayer, who is one of the best DPS ground unit, as the ability that he will get at later upgrades is extremely overpowered. Stain Heroeslayer's stats at max upgrade and max level are 91,870 damage with his SPA at 5.6 seconds, making his damage per second at 16,405.35. It may not seem a lot, but after I explain what his ability do, you'll be convinced that he is the best ground unit in this Update 15. How Stain Heroeslayer works with his ability is whenever Blood Curdle is activated, Stain's damage will deal 3 times more damage to every bleeding enemy inside his range. The ability can crit 4.5 times of Stain's current damage, as well as it stuns enemies for 2 seconds. This ability is not a global ability, which technically you can spam the ability. There is a 10 seconds cooldown on enemies who have been affected by the ability, and the ability cooldown is 20 seconds. Stain Heroeslayer will be extremely good when pairing with bleeding units, especially Guts Berserk, who is one of the newest units added in this Update 15, where he will be able to hit air enemies at later upgrades, making Stain Heroeslayer the best. Especially when Blood Curdle is activated, it will attack every enemies that are bleeding. Stain Heroeslayer's damage types are physical and dark. Okay, next unit is Griffith Ascension, who is one of the newest unit added in this Update 15, and Griffith became the most overpowered unit, and even better than Dio over Heaven with his extremely overpowered passive. Griffith Ascension stats at max upgrade and max level are 20,711 damage with his SPA at 6.3 seconds, making his damage per second at 3,287.46. You might be wondering why he has such a low stats. Well, it is because you have to sacrifice your units. If you sacrifice legendary units, Griffith will turn into Griffith Reincarnation, where it will buff your units by 100%, and you can stack your buff with Griffith Reincarnation, which is incredibly overpowered, which can be used in the brand new tournament in this Update 15. If you sacrifice Mythic and Secret units, Griffith Ascension will become a full AoE DPS unit, which is the most overpowered unit in anime adventures, even better than Dio over Heaven, which is insanely strong. Do keep in mind that Griffith doesn't have a cap, making it insanely overpowered, so I definitely recommend trying to get your Griffith's damage to 300 plus damage before he transforms, because it will be broken for Griffith to have such an insane amount of damage with him being a full AoE and multi-hit, which will be great against shield enemies. Griffith's buffs is based on the cost of the unit, which if you have maxed out the units, it will give more percentage of the damage buff before Griffith transforms. Alright, next unit is Homuru Time Traveler. Homura is one of the best ground unit, with her being one of the best units to have, especially with her overpowered time stop and amazing stats at later upgrades in this Update 15. Homuru Time Traveler stats at max upgrade and max level are 115,142 damage with her SPA at 6 seconds, making her damage per second at 19,190.48, which is insanely strong, as she will be able to hit both air and ground enemies with her attack and ability. How to get Homuru Time Traveler is through the Witch City Walpurgis secret portal, which you can craft using 4 time traveling shards, and you can get these time traveling shards through Tier 5 and above Witch City portals. The best trait you can have on Homuru Time Traveler is unique, as you can place 3 of Homuru down, and the alternative traits you can have on her is Divine trait and Godspeed trait. If you didn't know, you can sell and replace and spam her time stop ability, which is insanely strong for tournaments. Homura Time Traveler's damage types are physical and dark. Okay, next unit is Oceano. Oceano is incredibly broken, as Oceano buffs your units by 15% damage and making the upgrade cost 20% less, which is insanely good. You can place Oceano anywhere in the map and your units will still be buffed. Oceano's passive only works on you and not other teammates. Pairing Oceano with farms will make it cheaper for you to upgrade your farms, and not just making your farms cheaper, but also making your units upgrade cost less, which will be valuable in short maps like story mode, infinite castle, portals, and many more. Alright, next unit is Skull Knight King, who is one of the newest units added in this update 15. Skull Knight King turns out to be one of the most strongest ground unit in this update 15. Skull Knight King stats are max upgrade and max level are 387,820 damage with his SPA at 5.9 seconds, making his damage per second at 65,732.20, which is extremely overpowered for a ground unit, especially his AoE is a circle, which will be great against armored enemies. It is unfortunate that Skull Knight King does not hear enemies at later upgrades, but that makes the units balanced. Especially, you can only place 2 Skull Knight King, making unique trait the best trait you can have on Skull Knight King. Skull Knight King is the newest secret limited unit added in this update 15, and how to get Skull Knight is defeating the new secret king portal, the Eclipse, the Wings of Darkness, which can be obtained through the Eclipse portal, and you can get them through the Windham Infinite mode. Yeah. Alright, next unit is Usop God. Usop is the best boss killer compared to other heal and hybrid units. Especially, he is a hybrid unit, which means he will be able to attack air and ground enemies on placement. Usop God stats are max upgrade and max level are 414,182.93 damage with his SPA at 5 seconds, making his damage per second at 82,836.59, which is the highest damage per second in this game currently. Sheesh! Usop God is meta for Infinity Castle and in tournaments, which is insanely strong. So I recommend getting Usop God, especially he will be able to carry early waves. Usop God's attack tap is true damage, which he will ignore yellow shield and be insanely good for Infinity Castle as he will ignore resistance. Okay, next unit is Lawroom. Law is still one of the best units to bring in Infinity Castle, and not only because of his ability, but how surprisingly cheap he is to max upgrade, which will be useful in Infinity Castle, leaderboard runs, and many more in this update 15. Lawroom stats are max upgrade and max level are 150,141 damage with his SPA at 5.9 seconds, making his damage per second at 25,447.62, which is incredibly strong for a support unit as he has an ability at placement called Shamble. When activated, the enemies will be teleported back, which is insanely strong, and he is a better Lulu Geas, and that means Lawroom will be valuable in Infinity Castle and leaderboard runs with his Shamble ability. The Shamble ability affects air, ground enemies, and bosses, which is insanely good. Lawroom is incredibly easy to evolve as you have to continuously defeat the puppet portal, which are easy to defeat even if you are soloing the portal. Sheesh! The best trait you can have on Lawroom is unique as he has 3 placement, and alternative traits you can have on him is Sniper, so he will be able to teleport back more enemies with his huge range. Lawroom's damage types are Magic and Aqua. Okay, next unit is Metal Knight Arsenal. Metal Knight is still one of the best heal units, especially he has an insane multi-hit and summons drones in this update 15. Metal Knight Arsenal stats are max upgrade and max level are 129,881 damage with his SPA at 6.1 seconds, making his damage per second at 21,291.96. Remember that Metal Knight Arsenal can only be placed down twice, making unique trait on this unit the best trait. The drones will deal half of Metal Knight's damage, and at later upgrades, Metal Knight will become multi-hit, which will do well against shield enemies. You will be needing takedowns for Metal Knight to spawn his drones, and there is a tracker at the back on how many takedowns he got. To fully max upgrade one Metal Knight Arsenal will cost you 118,250 yen, and his damage types are Magic and Storm, which makes Metal Knight a must-have for Magic Infinity Castle rooms. An alternative unit you can go for instead of Metal Knight Arsenal is Fuji Admiral. Fuji is still the best physical heal unit and the strongest heal unit in this update 15, especially with his 2-hit outplacement, making him great against shield enemies and overall a good heal unit. Fuji Admiral stats are max upgrade and max level are 157,205.43 damage with his SPA at 11 seconds, making his damage per second at 14,291.4, which makes Fuji Admiral the best physical heal unit and overall a heal unit, especially with how cheap he is to max upgrade with insane damage and one of the best shield breaker heal unit, as he is a 2-hit outplacement and will do multi-hit at later upgrades. Yes. If you are a pay-to-win player, then I definitely recommend getting unique trait on Fuji Admiral. Even though he is a 4 placement, Fuji Admiral having unique will still be worth it, as his damage will still be one of the best, especially he is going to be a must-have unique for higher rooms in Infinity Castle. Fuji Admiral costs 66,500 yen to max upgrade one single Fuji Admiral, and his damage types are physical and dark. Alright, next unit is Guts Berserk, who is one of the newest units added in this update 15, and Guts Berserk became one of the most overpowered unit with his extremely overpowered full AoE and overall one of the best ground unit, and as well as he will be able to hit both air and ground enemies at later upgrades. Guts Berserk stats at max upgrade and max level are 326,850 damage with his SPA at 12 seconds, making his damage per second at 27,237.5, which is insanely overpowered, especially Guts is full AoE and will be able to hit both air and ground enemies at later upgrades. Guts also does an additional of 25% more of his current damage, as he does bleeding that lasts for 4 ticks, which is insanely good for bleeding unit to have. How to evolve Guts to Guts Berserk is by defeating the brand new Eclipse portal, which can be obtained through the Windham Infinite mode, which is incredibly easy, especially the map is huge, so you can place further back if you are playing solo. Guts Berserk power types are physical and fire. Okay, next unit is Pride the One. Escanor is one of the best ground unit in this update 15 with his insane late game stats, with Escanor having one of the biggest full AoE circle and having a low SPA cooldown and insanely strong damage per second. Pride the One stats at max upgrade and max level are 57,525.41 damage, following his SPA at 6.5 seconds, making his damage per second at 8,850. But with Sunshine passive max, his new damage per second is 19,921. At later upgrades, he will become a hybrid unit, making him attack both ground and air enemies. I suggest placing Pride the One as soon as possible, as he buffs himself permanently from placement for 15 waves. The best trait you can have on Pride the One is unique, and alternative traits you can have on him is Double Sniper's Divine. Pride the One's damage types are physical and fire. I only recommend to bring Pride the One in waves that are 20 or longer. Alright, next unit is Luffy Gear 4. Luffy is one of the best ground units to have, especially he is extremely cheap to max upgrade, and at later upgrades he will be able to hit both air and ground enemies. Luffy Gear 4 stats at max upgrade and max level are 205,719 damage with his SPA at 6.4 seconds, making his damage per second at 32,143.59. which is incredibly overpowered, as you can place 4 of Luffy Gear 4. Luffy Gear 4 at later upgrades, he will be able to hit both air and ground enemies, which is insanely strong, although he is no longer a multi-hit at his last ability, so he will struggle against shield enemies. Luffy Gear 4 is incredibly easy to evolve, as you just have to continuously defeat the puppet portal, which are easy to defeat even if you are soloing the portal. The best trait you can have on Luffy Gear 4 is Divine, as he has 4 placements, although if you are going to be using Luffy Gear 4 in Infinity Castle, then the best trait you can have on him is Unique, which Luffy is insanely strong for Infinity Castle on how cheap he is to max upgrade. Luffy Gear 4's damage types are physical and fire. That was everything for this video on the top 10 must-have units in update 15. I hope this video helped you in some sort of way. And remember to subscribe and like, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.